What's up, guys? Dylan Rusher, Cage Side Press, joined today by a UFC middleweight boasting an impressive 36-17 record, set to take on Edmen Shahbazyan on the main card of this weekend's UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. GM3, Gerald Meerschaert. Gerald, how you doing, man?
I'm great, Dylan. How you doing?
Doing good. You guys both have tough names. Edmen Shahbazyan, Gerald Meerschaert. God, geez. I want to ask you first things first, the GM3 nickname. Who bestowed that upon you? How did that originate?
Uh, so legally, my full name is Gerald Meershaert the third, and I think it was the first time would have been back home. Like that, we used to have what was it, like WisconsinCombatSports.com was like a little local website, and it covered a lot of, like, obviously MMA going on in the state itself, because we had a lot of names come out of there for a little bit of time. And they saw it and they just kind of started doing it and running with it, because obviously saying GM3 is a lot easier than saying my name all the time.
That makes sense to me. Speaking of Wisconsin, I wanted to ask you a little bit about you were born and raised out there, right? What was your childhood like in Wisconsin?
It was definitely a little bit different. For the first part of my life, we, like, when I was younger, we lived in like a normal house. We were in an apartment for a little bit, and then we lived in a house across the street from a school I went to for a few years. But the longest stretch I ever lived anywhere, and really where I grew up, was on a horse farm, kind of on the outskirts of town. And it was an interesting juxtaposition. So like right after elementary school, so pretty much from sixth grade on, like, your formative years, I lived on that farm. And I lived on the farm, like, on the edge of Racine County, but then I went to school, like, as downtown as you can get. Like, it was a old school building. Part of the building was around when, like, Lincoln was in office. We
Damn.
had a corner store across the street from us that had bars in the windows, and we were this tells you what kind of neighborhood it is. We were down the street from a Popeyes, and we were the next block over from the Martin Luther King Center. So it was definitely night and day for, like, where I live versus where I went to school.
Yep. Wow, that's interesting. That's an interesting juxtaposition, like you said. Wow. How did you get into mixed martial arts being on that horse farm? How did you come to find this sport?
So, like a lot of guys, I saw it on TV, especially when it started getting more popularity. Originally, I started out watching, like, I see Pride on YouTube and stuff like that, and it was crazy because I had friends that were super into, like, professional wrestling,
Hmm.
and they were like hardcore nerds into it, where they knew all the old school guys, and they would watch like the Japanese hardcore wrestling, which is its own thing. And that's obviously, Japan has a very rich tradition of martial arts, and a lot of their wrestling can go back to, like, actual shoot matches where they were actually fighting. And then that led me into Pride. And then I went to college to be a music teacher in Kenosha, and it just happened to be that, in Racine, where I grew up, they had MMA fights there, and the gym that ran them was in Kenosha. And so at that time, I was living in the dorms out of the house, and
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh, I think I'm tough. I want to try this." And I found out I wasn't tough, and I just got hooked.
And now look, 20 years later, about to fight Edmund
Yeah,
Shahbazyan on the main card. I wasn't planning on asking this, but goddamn, what a remarkable mustache you have, Gerald.
thank you.
Where would you rank your mustache among are you at Ian McCall level yet? Or where would you rank it in mixed martial arts?
I mean, it's got to be up there, man. It's fertilized, it's fresh, it's thick. I got a mustache that'll make a mountain lion purr, so it's got to be up there, top 10 for sure.
I think so, man. Maybe even top three. Who knows?
Yeah.
Uh, on Tapology, I read that you only have one amateur fight, or is that not?
So I technically have an amateur fight. I did not know that it was an amateur fight until I got there. So, like, my first, I think I had like three or four fights before that. You can see it's dated correctly, because I was like, I only ever fought pro. And
Hmm.
then I got there, and it was, this is back before actual sanctioning bodies. So, like, it wasn't unusual for me to just go somewhere. They're like, yeah, you're this way, you're fighting this guy, and no actual weigh-ins happen. You just kind of show up and fight each other. Sometimes you match gets switched up and you fight, you show up and you fight that night and you don't even know it. But we went out to this place, and they were like, "Oh, this is an amateur fight." And I was like, "Hey, I have pro fights." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, you're fighting this guy." I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "Yeah, just don't elbow or kick him in the head." And I was like, Cool, got it. So I mean, I don't know if the rule set affected that fight in particular. I think it pretty much went the way it was going to go anyway. But yeah, technically, I have one amateur fight. Yes.
That's funny though, because I've never really heard of a guy having some pro fights and then having an amateur fight after having already turned pro. But I guess back then a lot of different things were going on. So, but that's interesting for sure. So you found a lot of success early on in your pro career. You made the jump to the UFC almost 8 years ago. I think it was December of 2016. Does it feel like it's been 8 years? Gerald, you hear me? Okay, sorry, we'll cut that part out. I was gonna ask, you found
You
a
were
lot
breaking
of,
up for a second.
you hear me now though? It's good. Hold up. You hear me now?
You were breaking up again.
Okay,
I
let
hear
me,
you now. Yeah.
I was gonna see, maybe I should just go on I'm at my grandpa's house in Long Island, but I was gonna see, maybe I should go on my phone's my hotspot. But
Yeah.
does,
Try your hotspot.
yeah, I'm gonna try my hotspot. It'll be better off. I'll cut all this out.
No, you're good.
So where are you now? Are you in Florida?
Yeah, I moved to Florida.
And you're flying. I like the stuff on your wall. That's cool, man. You got Pettis too. You got all the Wisconsin guys.
Yeah, all the guys. Well, not all the guys, but a lot of guys in the corners.
Oh yeah, dog. All right. My hotspot is not turning up, so I think maybe we should just let it go and hopefully that doesn't
We can
happen.
go. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so let's do it. So wait one sec. It's my dog.
No, you're fine.
All right. So you found a lot of success early on in your pro career. You made the jump to the UFC almost 8 years ago. I think it was December of 2016. Does it feel like it's been 8 years, or is time flying, or does it feel like it's been even longer than 8 years ago?
Yes. Sorry, I heard success in my early pro career, and then something about 8 years ago.
Okay, I need to just get on this hotspot real quick because this is not working. One sec. God damn it. I've only ever done one interview here and it worked fine, so I was hoping.
No, it's okay, man.
All right, wait one sec. I don't know why the hotspot's just not turning up. All right, let's just try to keep going. If it happens again, I don't know. I'll have to turn off the Wi-Fi and then the hotspot will come up. All right, so
Gotcha.
I'm just ask that question again, but it sounds good right now. It's going well.
Right now, you're good. Yes.
Okay. So you found a lot of success early on in your UFC career. You made the jump to the UFC almost 8 years ago. It was December of 2016. Does it feel like it's been 8 years or even longer, or is time flying? Does it feel like it was just yesterday?
I guess a little bit of both. It doesn't feel. Sometimes it feels short. Sometimes it feels long. Like I can still remember it very clearly. Obviously, it's first UFC fight. It's an experience you never forget. Um, but I'm so comfortable, and this will be my 21st UFC fight, and my 54th overall. I'm just so in a pattern of doing this and like being in the company, and I know so many of the people. I've been there for my fights. I've been cornering a lot of guys in the UFC even before I was in it. So, it's 8 years seems about right. Sometimes it seems longer, but it's still a blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm. You've done so much, man. It's insane to think that you've had what, 54, what is it, 36 plus 17? I'm not good at math. 57,
Yeah,
53.
53, 54, something like that.
Yeah, it's about to be 54. Wow, that's insane. What do you think are some things that have contributed to your longevity in the UFC?
I think my fighting style definitely helps. Being more of a grappler, you tend to take less damage. And the default is to like get to fight to the ground, even if something goes wrong. If your default is to stand and bang, like sometimes that's good. It's always what the fans want to see, but sometimes health wise, it's not the best choice.
Mm-hmm.
I still try to go, you watch any of my fights, I fight on the feet a lot and I try to, make it as exciting as I can, but I know what my bread and butter is. And, I think part of it's my style and I get finishes. I get out of there early, which I know is another thing the fans want to see. Everybody loves a definite ending where we're not going to the scorecards. And I think I've just got to train with so many high level guys, so many champions, see so many different training philosophies. I've found what works for me.
Hmm.
And you make your money in the cage, not in the gym. And I've learned how to like I still train hard, and we get there are certain days where training feels like way harder than the fight, but I know how to train hard and effectively and still keep myself fresh. And I've been and I think some of it, like I don't have genetic gifts in terms of like crazy speed or crazy knockout power or whatever like that. But one thing you can say looking at my career, my body is resilient. You know what I mean? And like uh I in the sense that like knock on wood, I haven't had any major injuries. I've never came out of a fight with anything crazy. No broken bones, nothing like that. So I think that that's my one like saving grace is that I'm just my body's pretty tough.
Hmm. Definitely. You spoke a little bit about training. I know you train out there at Kill Cliff FC, a whole bunch of great fighters, great coaches. When did you make the jump to Kill Cliff FC, and do you feel like you found a home there?
Oh, absolutely. So I did a couple camps down here, living in South Florida now. I think my first fight I did with Killcliff would have been the Bruno Silva fight, and obviously that went really well. Um, and then I've been with them ever since. I moved down here about a year ago. I'm now, I teach a class there every week. I would do, obviously grappling. You go figure. So, but everybody is like, I learn a lot. They like what I'm showing them. A lot of great partners, like you said, a lot of bigger guys my size, which is what I needed, and a world class room and a world class facility.
Who's gonna be in your corner for this one?
I'll have Jason Strout and JP will be in my corner as well.
Nice, nice. I wanted to ask you, I'm not sure, I don't think, were you there at PFL this past weekend in Hollywood, Florida?
No, no. A couple of people asked me if I was going. I was like, look, man, I'm fighting the next week. I'm
Yeah.
getting to sleep. Like I trained all week. I got a toddler. Like, he's gonna get up at 7 a.m. whether I like it or not. So I'm not. I still watch the fights for sure, and I saw some of what happened, but I'm happy for a guy like Jordan Oliver had a very good fight. He looked very comfortable on the feet. He looked like a seasoned veteran. Elvin Espinoza, it was a great fight. It was back and forth, barring the one time he got caught and he still handled that well. It was, it could have been up in the air had that not happened. I think Mads is super, super tough. I think people don't give that guy enough credit for sure. And for Elvin to look that good against him, obviously wanted to win, but if you're going to lose, that's like about the best way you can do it. You know what I mean? He's going to learn a lot from that and grow as a fighter. And I think his stock only goes up from it. And then, of course, Impa back in the finals, still a beast, still such a tough guy. And his opponent, you could tell he wanted that one back and he really came for him. Like he did a lot better, but, Impa's just the better fighter. And he's such a handful to deal with. It's the if you take him down, you can't hold him down, and that's if you can take him down. He's got ridiculous power, so he's I'm fairly confident he's going to be a two-time PFL tournament winner.
Damn, Gerald, you got a career in journalism after this fighting career, man. You just broke down those fights better than I could. You're taking everything I work for out here.
I'm
Uh,
trying. They got to get me on the desk, man. I keep saying.
they should. That would be, I think you'd be great for the desk alongside what Anthony Smith and all they have a lot of current fighters, active fighters doing it. So I would love to see you there. Uh,
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about one other fight that night, though. I don't know if you saw the about so apparently Marvin Vittori took a swing at your teammate Tuco, and then Brendan Allen stepped in. It seemed like Brendan Allen definitely got the better of him. I was wondering if you saw the video or heard anything about it, what you made of that little brawl in
I
the
mean, allegedly that happened. I don't know. I mean, they kind of looked like some people I know, but I didn't really see nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't, whatever happened with that is, I mean, Brendan and Tuco were at my house chilling. I don't even know what everybody's talking about. Those are some other guys.
Okay, I got it. We'll move on to the next one. I think that same night, the CJI took place, the Craig Jones Invitational. Did you happen to see any of that? And I wanted to know what your experience was like grappling Craig Jones.
I got to watch some of the matches. I saw some of the highlights. I wish, and this is nothing like this wasn't that I like didn't like underappreciate Craig Jones or didn't take him seriously, but like, and I was very forthright about this. when that happened, Impa was getting ready for his first tournament final, and I did like nothing to change what I was doing because I was like, this dude's fighting for $1 million for the PFL tournament. Like the grappling match it was awesome, but it was like I'm not gonna take away because I was like one of his main partners for that. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna take away from that because I have a grappling match. I don't care
Yeah.
who it's against. You know what I mean? And it's like it wasn't like I was in the 80cc tournament or like the CGI $1 million tournament. That would have been different,
Hmm.
right? But I was like, it's that would be ridiculous. That being said, if I had time, I wish I would have trained differently for it for sure. Because he was really good. He's tough, and like he always and like he's a nice guy, jokes around or whatever. But when he competes, he comes at you. He came at me full steam ahead, and I thought I was good. And then when he got to the back, he did a really good job of like securing position before I could do any kind of transition, which isn't, again, when you're in MMA, you're worried about a lot of different things. And like the reaction, I don't think I had the wrong reaction, but maybe I wasn't moving as quickly as I should have to a certain spot where I was like, my MMA reaction is not conducive to a straight jiu-jitsu match.
Hmm.
But I did take away something from that. The way he got the rear naked choke and the way he went about applying it was a great insight for me, and I kind of stole that from that, and it helped me a lot, even in my last fight. So it was a good experience. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. I didn't go out and party afterwards or anything, so I can't confirm or deny whether or not the nose beer stuff is true, but I would assume it is.
You have so many submission victories on that topic. I know everyone knows you have great Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but do you feel like your finishing ability specifically might be somewhat underrated?
I mean, I don't know how it could be underrated. Like almost I think even out of all my professional wins, I only have like 2 or 3 decisions maybe.
Hmm.
And all my UFC wins to this point are finishes. So most submissions, and I'm tied for most finishes with Anderson Silva, who's obviously an emphatic finisher. So, if someone is downplaying it, I don't know what they're smoking, but they got to give me some of that.
That's a good answer, man. Uh, so you got back in the win club in a big way with the victory over Brian Barberena your last time out. Did you learn anything from that win? And like you just said, you have had so many wins, so much experience, but did that victory, getting back in the win club, maybe remind yourself a little bit of like who you are? I'm still here. I'm still doing this thing. I'm still one of the best in the world.
Yeah, no, it was all, definitely it went about as good as it could. There's like maybe 1 or 2 very small things I would have changed, but it was good. Brian's a very, very tough guy, and I know he's on a skid, but like that fight could have been a lot harder. Had I like played his game or, got a little bit dirty and mixed it up more on the feet, like uh that could have been bad. Because he's been on the feet with some like world class guys and
Mhm.
all of a sudden made him, look like ordinary human beings. So I think that was the smartest way I could have done it. I'm glad it went the way it did. Obviously boosting confidence shows that I'm still, I can still fight differently. Like I fought like a straight grappler that fight, right?
Mhm.
Like a lot of fights I have to punch first, but that fight was just like a couple jabs. I had some good takedowns in there, good cage control. When I got on top of him, I didn't rush the finish, and I still proved that it doesn't matter if you put your chin down. If I get my arms locked around you, you're going to sleep.
Mhm. So now we move on to Edmen Shahbazyan. What do you know about this guy, Edmen, and what makes this a favorable stylistic matchup for yourself?
Again, he's tough. Yeah, he's been tough for a while. He's fought a lot of high caliber guys. He was ranked for a little while. He's getting more into his physical prime. So I think that's another thing to consider because he got in very, very young. Uh, I think it's a good matchup for me. I think I can put a pace on him. I get stronger as the fight goes on. Traditionally, he seems to fade. I'm not going to expect that, but I know I've trained for 15 minutes of war if it has to be that. I feel like I have the edge in cardio and grappling, but we'll see when we get in there. I'm sure on paper I should have the edge of cardio grappling. On paper he has the edge in probably power and stand up, but you never know until you get in there, and it's the UFC, man. Everybody's tough.
Yeah.
All bets are off till you get in there. Like, who would have thought that I would be one of the first guys to drop Bruno Silva in the UFC and almost knock him out? Like, so, sometimes the shit don't make sense. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens.
So you spoke a little bit about what that victory over Barberena did for you and your mindset. What do you think a win here over Edmen Shahbazyan does for you and your career moving forward?
I mean, definitely helps. I think that that fight, maybe one more, set me up to maybe crack in the top 15, depending on how it goes. But I'm not looking past them. I'm just focused on that fight, and then we'll go from there. And just, the thing is, take it one fight at a time. You keep winning. Eventually, you'll end up with a number next to your name, and then eventually you get 12 pounds of gold on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. Uh, of course, you're not even contemplating retirement or anything like that, but I wanted to ask you, when it's all said and done, training, fighting, whatever it may be, coaching, what do you want people to remember most about GM3 Gerald Meerschaert above all else?
Honestly, I don't know that it matters to me that much if people remember me as far as like fighting goes, as long as the people that I did have interactions with and that I worked with, if I have a positive impact on their life, if I help make them a better person or see something a little bit differently, I think that's the most important thing. And like maybe there's a little part of me that, like, I hope when I'm done, people watch my fights and they still think I'm cool. But like really first and foremost is like, as long as the people that I get to interact with at the UFC, my teammates, coaches, as long as I hopefully give them as much as they gave me and helped, improve their life in some way.
Wow, that's a great answer, Gerald. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. I would love to see you at that desk analyzing fights with those guys on ESPN. I think that would be perfect for you. But before that, we're going to see Gerald Meerschaert versus Edmen Shahbazyan on this weekend's main card, UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, bro.
You too, man. Peace.
Peace.